interesting first day out here because you did have a handful of guys who went low, but the vast majority of the field is around even a couple of strokes either way. You were in the tower all day for Golf Channel. Your impressions?
Well, I think the course held up really well. I mean, I think the morning guys had a little bit of a tougher wave. It was cool and windy this morning. Right now, the wind is laid down. It's much warmer. The ball's flying a lot more. And, you know, the golf course, you can pick and choose. Some guys say it played really tough. I talked to Gary Woodland after his round. He played with Sam Burns, said, I don't know how we shot 7 under out there because the course seemed difficult to him. But if you're in the right spots, you can actually attack a lot of these pins and you can make some birdies, as we saw from some of the guys at the top of the leaderboard.
Same thing. A lot of the players coming off and saying you have to keep the ball in the fairway, and if you can do that, then you can attack. But there were some tough pins out there. Corey Connor said you really had to play smart and, for the most part, fairly defensive if you're going into the greens.
Rory McIlroy shoots 4 under, despite the fact he said he had a few glasses of wine to celebrate the birthday of his caddy, Harry, the night before, and he also hadn't played 9 of the holes here. Is there any reason not to think that he's going to be around come weekend?
Well, he'll definitely be there. I mean, you know, like we talked about earlier this week, there's not a golf course that doesn't suit his game well, and he's got good vibes here, past champion, and I think you expect him to be in the mix on Sunday afternoon.
You can kind of see how his game is so strong out here. The hole behind us, the first hole, plays 400 yards, and he had a 57 yards left in. Almost holed it out, made a birdie there, but he said he did play his first 9 blind because he hadn't really seen the changes. He didn't have a chance to play a practice round there. He hit 16 of 18 greens. When you do that and you're putting, you're going to have a lot of chances for
and the
birdies.
Front 9 here is where everybody's taking advantage today. The back 9, you're just kind of holding on.
As for the Canadians, large, 28 of them, and a lot of ho-hum days. David Hearn has a terrific day at 3 under par. Maybe the most surprising, Mike Weir. I thought he was supposed to be here, like, looking at guys for the President's Cup, not auditioning himself.
Talk about rolling back the clock. I love this. Hearn and Weirzy both in the mix. Maybe we get Mike Weir as a playing captain there in Montreal.
His 31st appearance at the Canadian Open. He's switched coaches just recently. He's gone back to David Ledbetter, who he worked with very early in his career. He's put him through some different kind of drills. He's actually getting a putter working, which he said was the key. 118 feet of putts he rolled in today, and if he can do that, if he gets to the weekend, that would be pretty good.
Nick Taylor outdoes his 72-foot putt to win the Canadian Open last year with a 73-foot chip in on the second hole that he played on this day, but never could really get it going. And is it typical for a defending champion who just has a lot on his plate this week, you think?
Well, if you remember, too, last year he opened and he was in 120th place after the first round. So maybe he can kind of lean back on that and get on the horse and see what happens here in the next few rounds.
Hopefully he talks to his wife and she reads him the riot act like she did a year ago, and he'll go get a little better. But I think there's a lot on his plate. I've seen him all over the place here doing interviews, talking with sponsors. He's had a lot to go through. So we might be able to give him a pass this time.
Rave reviews for the golf course for most of the players, but like you say, they found it difficult. I talked to Kevin Tway as he came off, and he was talking about the rough. And I said, what was the hardest hole out there? He said, every single one where I didn't hit the fairway.